My parents said there wasn't enough room for me on the family trip. But a week later, my mom posted photos, laughing on a boat, matching shirts. Grateful for every one of them. Except me. I said nothing. Then their car broke down in another state, and my card wasn't working anymore. My dad called me 27 times. My sister texted, "Why did you freeze the account?" At first I ignored, but then sent $1 with note. I couldn't believe it when they told me. My own parents looked me in the eye and said there wasn't enough room for me on the family trip this year. At first, I thought I'd misheard. I even waited a second, expecting someone to laugh. They didn't. "We just had to make some hard choices with space," my mom said. "We thought it would be good for you to have some quiet time," my dad added. I sat there stunned. It didn't make sense. I wasn't some cousin or distant relative. I'm their son. And this was Lake Havasu. Our summer trip. The one tradition that had stayed solid even when everything else in our family started getting shaky. It hit me harder than I thought it would. I didn't yell or argue. I just nodded slowly, said, "Okay," and walked out of the house. The minute I closed their front door behind me, the anger crept in. It wasn't even about the trip, not really. It was about what it said. That I was the easiest one to cut out. That I was extra. And then, a week later, it got worse. The first photo came from Jackie. A story on Instagram of her and Jack in matching shirts, holding those ridiculous novelty margaritas, dancing on a dock. I tapped through a few more. My parents. And Rachel and Uncle Mike. The kid. That part confused me. I hadn't seen that kid before. I did a little digging and found out through a comment thread that he was the 14-year-old son of a family friend. Some neighbor. Apparently he really needed a break from home. So they brought him along. So there was room. Just not for me. I stopped watching the stories after my mom posted a picture of the whole group on a boat, all tanned and relaxed, captioned, "Grateful for every one of them." That one hit different. I stared at that picture for a long time. Then I logged out. I didn't call. Didn't ask questions. Didn't let them know how I felt. I figured, if I was such an afterthought to them, maybe it was time they started to feel like one to me. The next night, I remembered the credit account. It was supposed to be for emergencies. That was the deal. They needed my name because I had the best credit in the family. We all agreed it would be used sparingly and paid off monthly. That was a lie. Over the past year, I watched charges pile up: gas stations, groceries, travel bookings, even Amazon orders that clearly weren't mine. I paid off most of it just to protect my own score. And now they're off sipping drinks and posting gratitude while I'm here paying their bills. I logged into the account and froze it. No warning. No text. Just clicked freeze and logged out. The next morning, the calls started early. I was up feeding my dog when the first one came in. "Dad." I let it ring. Then again. And again. 7 calls in the first hour. Then a pause. Then Jackie. "Why did you freeze the account? We're stuck in the middle of nowhere." I didn't reply. I went to the coffee shop, walked my dog again, and by the time I got home, I'd missed 27 calls in total. Texts were piling in. My mom even tried emailing me. I didn't open it. Instead, I opened Venmo, sent them exactly $1, and wrote, "Sorry, I don't have any money for you." Then I turned off my phone and took a nap. They got back the next evening. I knew because I'd been tracking their location through the shared Find My app, something they'd forgotten we all had set up after my sister lost her phone during a hike last year. I watched the little dot move across the map like a slow, angry storm cloud heading straight for me. I assumed they'd cool off for a day or two. I was wrong. At 7:43 p.m., someone started pounding on my front door. Not knocking. Pounding. Like they were trying to kick it down. My dog Thor bolted from the living room and started snarling at the door like it owed him money. I looked through the peephole, and yep, there they were. My entire loving family, back from their perfect vacation. Mom, Dad, Jackie, Jack, and Rachel. And even Uncle Mike, who stood a few feet behind them with this expression like he wasn't sure what exactly he'd signed up for. I didn't open it at first. Just watched. Jackie was already mid-rant. My dad was pacing. My mom looked like she'd practiced a speech. Jack was standing way too close to the door like he was ready to square up with someone, which made me laugh. Then my dad banged again. "Andrew! Open the door!" I opened it. The second the door cracked, they shoved their way in without waiting. Thor lunged at Jack, barking so hard he was practically foaming. Jack yelped and jumped back like a cartoon character. If I hadn't grabbed Thor's collar, he might have gone for his ankle. "Get control of that damn animal," Jack said. "He's trained to hate freeloaders," I said. They didn't laugh. My mom started first. She went straight into lecture mode, talking over everyone, saying how irresponsible and cruel it was to freeze the account while they were out of state. That it was dangerous. That I should have thought of the family. I didn't say anything. I just let her go. It was always about how they felt. Dad said I acted like a spiteful little kid. Jackie, who spent the whole trip posting fake deep captions about grateful hearts and sunsets, told me I made them look stupid in front of their Airbnb host and the kids' parents. Aunt Rachel said I should be ashamed of myself. That no decent person would do what I did. Then Jack, the guy who's been around for barely a year and already acts like he's part of the family inheritance, stepped forward and said, "If this is how you treat your own blood, man, maybe you don't deserve to be part of this family." That almost made me laugh out loud. I looked at him for a solid 5 seconds before replying. "You're not family. You're just the plus one who didn't get left out." He got all puffed up like he wanted to swing. Thor growled again. I wish I'd let go of the leash. The yelling kept going. Every room in my apartment felt too small for this much anger. I just stood in the center of it all, listening to them throw guilt, accusations, and complaints like I hadn't spent the last year bailing them out financially while they pretended I didn't exist. Nobody said sorry. Nobody admitted they were wrong for excluding me. It was just a lecture on how I'd made them uncomfortable. Finally, I had enough. "Get out." They didn't move. "I'm not kidding. Get the hell out of my apartment." One by one, they filed out. Jackie muttered something under her breath. Jack glared. Aunt Rachel slammed the door behind her like it would prove something. My mom said nothing for once. Uncle Mike was the last to leave. He didn't look angry, he just looked embarrassed. He stood there in the doorway for a second, like he was going to say something, but then nodded and walked out. After the door clicked shut, the silence was perfect. I took Thor for a walk. Didn't bring my phone. Didn't care what messages were waiting. Whatever storm they were brewing next, I already knew one thing. I wasn't playing along this time. For 3 days they went silent. No calls. No texts. Nothing. It felt too calm, like the air before a thunderstorm. I wasn't stupid. I knew it wasn't over. People like them don't let things go when they're not in control. Then Saturday morning happened. I took Thor out early, walked to the park, got a breakfast sandwich, and came back feeling like maybe the storm had passed. But the second I reached the front of my building, I knew something was wrong. The security door downstairs was propped open with a rock. Someone had jammed it so it wouldn't close. We don't have a doorman or anything fancy. It's just a 6-unit building with normal locks and quiet neighbors. But today, the stairwell floor was muddy, and I could see fresh shoe prints going up to the second floor. My floor. I rushed up. The door to my apartment was closed, but it wasn't locked. I always lock it. Always. Thor started growling before I even opened it. And then I saw them. Sitting in my apartment. Comfortable. Like it was their house. My mom at the kitchen counter, sipping coffee like she brewed it herself. My dad sitting on my couch, flipping through a stack of my mail. Jackie scrolling through something on my iPad. Jack was standing by the window, eating the last 2 slices of pizza I had saved from the night before. Aunt Rachel had taken her shoes off and was rubbing lotion into her feet like she was settling in for the day. Uncle Mike was there too, off to the side, clearly uncomfortable but still part of it. I didn't say anything at first. Just stood in the doorway with the leash still in my hand and Thor pulling forward, barking like he wanted to rip Jack's face off. I didn't stop him. Not right away. "What the hell are you doing in my apartment?" My dad didn't even blink. "We needed to talk. You wouldn't return our calls. So you broke into my place? You gave us a key, Andrew," my mom said. "You said it was for emergencies. This is an emergency?" I said. "You feeling uncomfortable in Arizona because you had to pay for your own gas?" They all started talking over each other. My mom said I'd crossed the line. Jackie called me manipulative. Jack tried to throw his weight around again, stepping up like he thought he was the man of the house. I almost let Thor off the leash just to see what would happen. And then, as if they hadn't already lost their minds, they dropped the bomb. They said I owed them for the kitchen. Months ago, I let my parents use my credit for a card they couldn't qualify for. Just one more emergency, they promised they'd handle. I knew they used it for groceries and gas. But what they didn't tell me was that they charged $8,000 for kitchen renovations. Cabinets, electrical, plumbing. A full upgrade they never told me about. It was a family expense, my mom said. You benefited too. I haven't eaten a meal in that kitchen in 10 months, I said. My dad stood up and said if I refused to pay for it, I was turning my back on the family. Aunt Rachel chimed in about how selfishness always leads to isolation. And then Jack, who somehow still thought this was his moment, said, "You're gonna regret treating blood like this." I looked at each of them one by one. Nobody said sorry for excluding me. Nobody said they understood why I was hurt. Nobody admitted they'd gone too far. They didn't care. They were just mad they couldn't control me anymore. "Get out," I said. Jack laughed. "Or what?" I didn't answer. I walked over, opened the front door, and pointed. "You've got 10 seconds before I call the cops." 9. They left. Slowly, muttering, shoving on their shoes, slamming the door. My mom said I was acting like a stranger. Jackie said I was dead to her. Jack said nothing. He was too busy dodging Thor on the way out. Uncle Mike hesitated in the doorway. He looked at me like he wanted to say something. But instead, he just walked away. The second they were gone, I changed the locks. And then I got to work. I gathered every screenshot of charges on the card that weren't mine. Photos of the kitchen I hadn't stepped foot in for nearly a year. Texts. Emails. I called the credit company and opened a fraud dispute. It took them 5 days to review it all. And then I got the email. The charge had been reversed. $8,000 wiped clean. They'd be billed directly. If they didn't pay, collections would hit their names, not mine. I sat back on my couch and smiled. Thor jumped up next to me, still sniffing around like he expected them to come back. They wouldn't. Not for a while. But this wasn't over. They just lost access to my money. Now they were going to lose their grip completely. 2 days after the $8,000 charge got wiped from my name, the family group chat lit up for the first time in weeks. I muted it a long time ago, but the notifications were still there, like smoke after a fire. Jackie went first. "We need to talk." "Seriously. It's about Dad." Then my mom, "Can we come over?" "Please. Just 10 minutes. Another one from Jackie, about 10 minutes later. "He might lose his job." "Andrew, please just talk to us." I didn't open any of them. I already knew what this was: damage control. Guilt, begging, fake concern. They weren't sorry. They were cornered. But the part about my dad's job caught my attention. Later that afternoon, while I was eating lunch in the break room, a number I didn't recognize called me. I let it go to voicemail. Then I listened. It was someone from HR at the company where my dad worked. Apparently, the credit card company had flagged the billing address he used, his office. And because the charges were reversed and disputed under fraud, it had triggered an investigation. Now he was on administrative leave. That evening, Jackie sent another barrage of messages. "You've gone too far. This is your fault. You're destroying Dad. How could you do this to us?" I didn't respond. I knew if I opened that door again, even a crack, they'd pour in like floodwater. I was done being the one who bled for the family. Done paying for their messes, literal or emotional. Around 8:30, someone knocked on my door. Not pounding. Just 2 light knocks. I checked through the peephole. Uncle Mike. He stood there holding a 6-pack and a plastic bag of takeout. I opened the door. No words. Just moved aside so he could walk in. He sat down like he wasn't sure if I'd throw him out too. "I'm not here to fix anything," he said. "I just wanted you to know the truth. You deserve that." He didn't waste time. No warm-up. No sugarcoating. The 14-year-old kid they brought on the trip. Not some poor neighbor's son. He was Jack's little brother. His parents were in the middle of an ugly divorce, and Jackie thought bringing him along would help him cope. She convinced my mom it would be a good look. A charitable family gesture. My dad didn't care either way. So they made room. For him. That's why I got cut. They knew you'd be angry, Uncle Mike said. They just didn't care enough to deal with it. He looked down at his hands, shaking his head. I didn't agree with any of it. But I went anyway. I thought maybe I could talk to them, make them see. It didn't work. I didn't say anything for a while. I appreciated that he came clean. But it didn't change anything. They had made a choice. Not a mistake. A choice. And choices have consequences. That night, Jackie posted something passive-aggressive on her Instagram story. Black screen, white text, you think you're punishing us. But you're only punishing yourself. Family is forever. Until you throw it away. I blocked her. Then I blocked my mom. Then my dad. Uncle Mike was the only one I didn't. I took Thor out for a walk later, and for the first time in weeks, the air actually felt good. I didn't know what they'd try next, but I wasn't afraid of it anymore. They were the ones losing control now. The block didn't stop them. They started showing up instead. First it was Jackie, 2 days later. I saw her through the peephole pacing back and forth like she was practicing a speech. She knocked, waited, knocked again. I didn't open. She slipped a note under the door. It said, "You're not acting like family. You're acting like a stranger with a grudge. Be better." I didn't read the rest. Just crumpled it up and tossed it in the trash. Then my mom came by the next night. I watched her from the window as she sat in her car outside my building for nearly half an hour. She never came to the door. Just stared up at my unit, probably hoping I'd notice. I did. I still didn't care. By Friday, the silence felt too calculated. Too strategic. Then I got a text. Not from a number I recognized. It was Jack. "You might want to check your credit report. And don't worry, this wasn't me. But I warned you. You started this." He was trying to rattle me. I almost ignored it, but something about the way he phrased it, "This wasn't me," made me pause. So I pulled up my credit monitoring app. There it was. A new inquiry from a home improvement store, made 2 days ago. And another one from a contractor supply chain. Under my name. Someone was trying to open a new account. I froze. They hadn't just maxed out my card. They were trying to open another one. Using my info. Still trying to get more out of me, even after everything that happened. I called the credit company and locked everything down. Fraud alert. Full report filed. They confirmed the application came from my parents' home IP address. That was the moment something snapped in me for good. It wasn't just about a vacation anymore. Or money. Or guilt. They were stealing from me. Again. I didn't yell. Didn't storm over there. Instead, I did one thing. I printed out everything. The fraudulent credit applications, screenshots of texts, the kitchen renovation invoice, the HR contact log from my dad's employer, and the full email thread with the credit company. I dropped the stack off at their front door in a sealed envelope with no note. Let the facts speak for themselves. That night, around midnight, my phone rang. It was Uncle Mike. He didn't ask how I was. Didn't say hello. He just said, "They lost it. Your dad's talking about pressing charges for harassment. Your mom thinks you're trying to destroy the family. Jackie's blaming you for dad's job. Jack's feeding them all poison." I didn't respond right away. Then he said something I didn't expect. "I think you should stop answering the door. Not just for now. For good." "Why?" I asked. He sighed. "Because Jackie said something tonight that made the room go quiet. She said you'd ruined everything, and the only way to make you pay was to ruin something of yours." "What does that mean?" "I don't know. But it didn't sound like a threat. It sounded like a plan." I looked over at Thor, sleeping peacefully on the floor. I'd had enough. 3 days passed. No knocks. No messages. Just eerie quiet. But I didn't relax. I started locking the door even when I was inside. Thor didn't leave my side. And every night, I checked the security camera I'd installed just above my door. I stopped sleeping with my phone on silent. Then it happened. It was 2:17 a.m. when my phone lit up with a notification, "Motion detected, front door." I tapped it open and stared at the screen. There they were. Jackie, Jack, and my mom. Standing outside my door with garbage bags. One of them was filled with what looked like shredded paper and another with tools. I watched in silence as Jack crouched down and started jamming something into the keyhole. I called the police immediately. No warning this time. No hesitation. They didn't get far. By the time the first officer showed up, they'd already broken off part of the lock and spilled glue inside the keyhole. One of them, probably Jackie, had tried to superglue a handwritten sign to my door. It said, "You don't deserve to live alone." When the cops asked me if I wanted to press charges, I didn't even blink. Yes. They were detained on the spot. My mom begged me to say it was a misunderstanding. Jack tried to make it sound like a prank. Jackie was silent, face red, arms crossed like a child caught stealing. I signed the report. That was the last time I saw any of them. The next morning, I got a call from their lawyer, some family friend trying to mediate. Said they didn't want this to escalate. Asked what I wanted. I told him I'd think about it. Then I hung up. 2 days later, I sent a letter. Inside was a printed invoice for the $8,000 kitchen repair, no longer my problem, and a note, "You can figure it out together." Like family? I also included the names of 2 credit monitoring services and advised them to stop using my identity, or I'd take it to the DA next time. And then I did the one thing they never thought I'd do. I blocked every number. My mom. My dad. Jackie. Jack. And Rachel. Every email. Every social. I deleted the family group chat entirely. The only person I didn't block was Uncle Mike. Weeks passed. Then one night he called. Said he had something to tell me. "They said you're not their son anymore," he said. "Your mom said she has one child now. That they only have Jackie." I waited for the regret in his voice. It didn't come. "They'll never say it out loud, but they know they screwed it all up. You were the only one who ever showed up for them. Paid for them. Cleaned up their crap. And they chose someone else over you. I'm sorry, Andrew." I didn't say anything for a while. Then I told him, "I'm not angry anymore. But I'm done." And I meant it. I still live in the same apartment. Thor's still here, still hates everyone but me. I started going on weekend trips. Alone. No matching shirts. No group photos. Just peace. Every once in a while, I see their faces pop up on local news or tagged photos from some event. I scroll past. Like they're strangers. Because they are now. And I'm fine with that. 2 weeks passed. Life finally started to feel normal. I'd switched credit cards, updated all my passwords, and even got a new lock installed. I didn't look over my shoulder anymore. Thor and I had our routines, morning walks, quiet evenings, zero family drama. I actually started sleeping through the night again. Then something strange happened. One afternoon, I got a letter in the mail. Handwritten, no return address. The handwriting looked familiar, but not from someone I expected. I opened it slowly, half expecting another guilt trip or insult. Instead, it was from the 14-year-old kid they brought on the trip. His name was Evan. I hadn't even known that until now. The letter was short, but it hit like a brick. "Hi, Andrew. I know you probably don't want to hear from anyone connected to them, but I had to write this. I didn't understand everything that was going on when we were in Arizona. But I do now. I thought they were helping me. Turns out they just wanted me there because it made them look good. I didn't even want to go. I asked where you were and your sister told me you were too dramatic to be invited. Just wanted you to know, it didn't sit right with me then, and it really doesn't now." There was no address. No phone number. Just that. It caught me off guard. I hadn't thought about the kid once since all of it happened. He was just a symbol, really, proof that I didn't matter to them. But now here he was, writing a letter like a grown man, saying what my actual family couldn't. And it didn't stop there. 2 days later, I got another message, this one digital. An anonymous email with a burner address. No text, just an attachment. I opened it. It was a photo. A screenshot of a private group chat between Jackie, Jack, and my mom. The name of the group was Clean Sweep. The messages were timestamped from just before the glue incident. They were planning it. Not impulsively, strategically. How to get into my apartment, what to say if the police showed up, even who should bring the bags. It was disgusting. And deliberate. The email ended with one sentence. "I thought you should see what family really looks like." No signature. No name. But something told me it came from Uncle Mike. Maybe he'd seen the screenshots. Maybe Evan had passed them along. Either way, someone wanted me to know that this wasn't over because of guilt. It was over because I'd finally seen it all, clearly. I sat there for a long time after that. Not angry. Not sad. Just done. For real this time.